Thanks a lot to be here for the third day of our design festival. Today, this is the first event of today, and we will be happy to have Mauricio Beltran, who is instructor here at the Yashar University, and will present us one of the last project he has been doing. So to introduce Mauricio, it's enough to tell that most of you know it. Most of you have been working with him here at Yashar University, but Mauricio is architect. He's also structural engineer, and he specialized in architecture for seismic region. So due to this specialty, he has been working after the earthquake in Hatay and Antakya. He has been working on finding some solutions to help people over there, help people that lost their houses. And he went to Bursa first, and then to Mersin and Antakya, implementing solution to create a temporary housing solution for refugees. He has been doing this work thanks to the support of the voluntary architect network of Shigeruban, and he will now present us what he has been doing over there. Mauricio, whenever you are ready, you can go on.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I think you can. I'm gonna present from here because I want to use the laser, and it's more comfortable if I do it from here. Plus, for me, it's easy if I move while I'm talking. Thank you, Matthew, for the introduction. I'm gonna show what we did in Mersin and Antakya mostly, and the presentation, this short presentation, is organized in the sort of answering some of the most common questions I received during this time and afterwards, which is, what is this system? What did you do there? And the second question, which is, how did I get involved, or how did we get involved in this process? And what did we exactly do there in Hatay and also Mersin? And at the end, I want to share with you some of the reflections I had after all this process. What is this paper partition system? Is basically a kind of emergency installation made out of paper tubes. As you can see there, it was designed by basically Shigeruban office architects, and they formed this voluntary architects network, VAN, with other companies in Japan. As you know, in Japan, there are a lot of earthquakes and also, let's say, other type of disaster. So the idea is that they implement this system very quickly, and they provide some relief to the victims of any of these disasters. Here is a more clear explanation of the purpose. You have a evacuation center with a lot of people staying, sleeping there for days. So the idea is you bring this system, I'm going to explain in a minute how it is built, and you basically provide separations. Let's say visual privacy. There is not much acoustic privacy, but there is visual privacy and the sense of space, private space for the people who are staying there. All these images are from the brochure of the PPS given by Shigeruban. Now, how this is done? First, the components are paper tubes. These are different paper tubes. We have this one that we call column. Then we have this one that is called a beam, and these small ones that are called connections or joints. You also need some fabric, some duct tape, and then some safety pins. In this picture, you can see the process. First, you introduce the beam into the column. There are some perforations you need to make in the column. After these are inserted, you can extend the system by introducing the connection between these two beams there. Then you need to fix them by using the duct tape. Then you put the curtain or the fabric there, and then you secure it by connected with a safe pin. The system is very straightforward. As you can see, it's not complicated at all, and it's very quick. So based on this system, you can create units like this one you see here. This is 6 units. So a family can stay there, or you can create subdivisions, and this is when it's open. Here you can see some more technical details, more or less of the size. It's usually around 2 per 2 meters. That is the size of this paper partition system. Now, people ask me, how did I get involved in this? This is from Japan, and I'm in Turkey, and I'm from Chile. So how did I get involved in this? Well, because of him. He is Jersey. He is a professor, assistant professor in Wrocław University of Technology in Poland. And we met in Delft while we were doing our PhDs. His PhD was about paper architecture. He's always been fascinated by this idea of building architecture in paper. My PhD was about seismic engineering, but so we didn't have anything in common, but we met there. And we both share, nevertheless, an interest in building prototypes and making large-scale models. So in 2018, in Poland, we made this tower, and these elements are paper tubes. In 2019, here at Yashar, we made this hyperboloid, also made out of paper tubes, because we are working together. So Jersey always bring this paper tubes story into the projects. So I was helping with the structural part. And last year, I traveled to Poland, and then we made several prototypes, but this is the one I was involved. It's a pavilion for children, and also with paper tubes. So at the same time, Jersey, he's been involved with Shigeru. He was involved with Shigeru, and they implement the system, the PPS, in Poland for the Ukrainian refugees. After Russia invaded Ukraine, you know, there were a lot of people fleeing the country, and they entered Poland. So there was this need to provide shelter to these people. So here you can see in a former supermarket in Poland, but near the Ukrainian border, this implementation that Jersey and his team did. And here, this is the station, the train station in Wrocław. They also installed this system there. At the same time, last year, Jersey and his team produced a kind of emergency house prototype working with Shigeru. So Jersey is in contact with this office. They have been working together for a long time. So basically what happened, this is the email I received on the day of the earthquake. It's a kind of seismic alert I received directly in my email address. Any earthquake larger than 6.0 in the Richter magnitude, I receive an alert. So that Monday, I checked my email and I saw this. That's how I learned that there was a huge earthquake in Turkey. And from now on, the next slides in this presentation, I'm going to use this kind of legend, which indicates the day after, how many days have passed since the day zero. The day zero is when the earthquake happened, 6th of February. So just to show you in a chronological way how the things develop is going to be easy for you to track. So on the day one day after the earthquake, Jersey sent me this email. You can read there. So basically, he's asking me if he would like to get involved in this project. I've worked many years with Jersey, so the answer was yes. But also is the opportunity to work on this partition system. I said yes, and then I talked with Egenor. Where is Egenor? Here, there. Egenor, well, you all know Egenor, and if you don't know it, for the people that is connected to the internet, she's a research assistant here. She was also my student, a very clever and good student. And of course, every time I have a project or any activity related with research or any of the things I do, I ask for her help. She said yes again. So we started to work on this together from the beginning. You're going to see this was at the second day. I also asked Elif and Eje, who are my students, to help me with preparation of some of the things I'm going to show as well. And one of the first things we did, the four of us, is to answer a question I received from the people from Chigueruban. If you remember the pictures I showed at the beginning, all the system is to be implemented in evacuation centers. So the first question is, where are the evacuation centers in Turkey? So on 9th of February, around that time, we started checking and try to understand what happened, where this evacuation center, how many people was there looking for places, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we come up with this preliminary report on the emergency shelters at that day. And yeah, here you can see the number of people that are supposedly in need of shelter. Actually, the numbers were much, much, much larger than that. And I have to say there was a lot of misinformation at this point. I'm going to show this picture further in the presentation, but I just want to show you this. There were many places. So, for example, here you see Adana, Gaziantep, Malatya, and Hatay. And basically they are saying here, these places are prepared to receive people that in needs of shelter. So we were like, okay, we're really happy because we have a lot of places to go and install this one. I'm going to keep this like that because actually when we tried to contact them, Egenor was doing a fantastic job calling these people and tried to get information, and we couldn't get any information. On the day 4th, we have the first meeting, the first online meeting with the people from all the parties. The picture you're seeing, this screenshot, is not from that first meeting, it's from one later, where Chigueruban, you can see here, he's there, join us, just, you know, to thank us for the work and also to sort of encourage us. Right next to him, you see Zelda. She is from Confida, which is the company that produced the paper tubes here in Turkey from Bursa, and they donate all these tubes. She was very active in the beginning, and then when I was in Antakya later, we were all the time talking on the phone, making decisions together. Right next to Chigueruban, there is Yasunori, who is actually the person we talk all the time. Well, here is me, Egenor, you can see part of her there. Jersey is here, of course. Jersey was very active from Poland because he had all the experience. She's also from Confida, and these people is from Chigueruban, the office in Paris, and there were, of course, other people that involved always in the meetings. We have several meetings like this one to coordinate. And on the 7th day, someone from a Turkish architect that was working in Chigueruban found this Mersin sports center, Yeni Şehir. And this picture is from that day. It's a real picture taken that day. And they say, we have this sports center, so maybe you can go there. Now, I want to say this because it's going to be what happened for the rest of the time I spent there. There was no authority. There was no main coordinator. There was no one that you can ask directly the state of these places. Everything we did was networking. It was based on voluntary work. So this place, I mean, the knowledge of the existence of this place came from someone that is Turkish, but it was working in Japan and had someone in Mersin, and that person took the picture, sent it to her, then that person sent it to us. Then engineer called the people there at the sports center, and they say, yeah, we need this paper partition system. On the 8th day, the final dimensions of the paper tubes were defined. You say, well, why didn't you do that at the beginning? Because the paper tubes are produced by different companies, so they need to be adjusted to what happens in the let's say the type of production that the company can make. So these are the final prototypes, and Confida start that day the production, the manufacturing of these paper tubes. So there were 2,400 columns, 3,400 beams, and 2,600 connections. This is for more or less 1,000 units. But there is another issue here that you might guess from the pictures. The column, which is going to be 2,400 columns, need to be perforated. They are not produced with the perforations. So what Jerzy and his team did, they use a driller. You see here, they use some sort of formwork. They make a small drill as guidance. Then they use, here, they use a big one to make the actual hole for later introduce the beam. That is the process. That is repeated over and over again. And if any of you have worked with this system with a driller, then you will soon realize that this piece that you're cutting, it gets stuck there. So then you see a person with a scissor trying to get rid of this thing that gets stuck there. Also, you can use here a more, let's say, bigger driller, a fixed one, a table one, to optimize the time. What I'm trying to show with this one is that in order to perforate, to make the holes in 2,400 columns, we needed a lot of work, a lot of days. So we agreed on the 11th day in a meeting to do two things. Confida will start try to produce a machine that can perforate quickly the tubes, and we will travel to Bursa to make the perforations there before we go to Mersin, because we didn't know the conditions in Mersin. We didn't know if we have enough machines and so on and so forth. In the meantime, this is the plan of the sports center. We were studying how can we organize these things, the units there. So here we were doing that. We received the news that a company called Vertex donated 4,000 meters of fabric, because we didn't have the fabric at that time. We only had the paper tubes. On the day 17th, we knew that the paper tubes were ready in Bursa, so we traveled. Now I'm saying we, but I'm referring to first Gökalp. He's a student. Gökalp is here. Thank you for coming. And Ozan, who graduated last year, also former students, both of them very, very hardworking people. This picture is from a Friday. They told us the paper tubes are ready on Thursday. We traveled there on Friday. And that is the machine. That is a machine they built in Confida. So basically, well, I'm not a mechanical engineer, but basically what it does is just push something with a lot of pressure and make a hole. It's very simple. You see Ozan there is pushing the button. I mean, this picture is a bit misleading because actually Ozan and Gökalp were doing the thing with the tube, and I was just pushing the button all the time. That was my job there. But there was another problem here that you say, okay, it's very quickly because you put the tube, then someone press the button, and then it makes the perforation, done. But each paper tube has 4 holes, and the machine only did 1 hole at a time. So you have to go 2,400 times 4 to do this. So the engineers, when this happens on Friday, when the engineers and the technicians saw us doing that, they said, oh, we're going to come back on Monday. You probably will have the first group done on Monday, and then we will fix the machine. But they didn't know Gökalp and they didn't know what was on. So these guys were like a machine. They were working. So then they came the next day. They came on Saturday because we finished. We called them and said, we finished. And they came because they have to modify the machine to make the other hole. It's not, we cannot use the same position to make the different hole. So this is a short video. Sorry, it's a little bit shaky because I took it. So you're gonna see the amount of paper tubes that are there. So these are some of the paper tubes, but the others are there. So these guys, Gyokal and Uzan, were so fast that we finished by Monday. So on Monday, we had the first prototype in Bursa. That was really, really fast. So everyone, of course, was really happy. The people in Japan was really happy because we were thinking this is going to take 1 week, and actually we finished in 1 weekend. So on 22, the tubes were packed in these pallets, as you see there. And this is the first implementation. Then I traveled to Mersin, and this is how it looked. This is my picture when I got there. This is what I found. So I'm going to show you the process we did there. So the people start cutting the fabric. At the same time, other people start opening and bringing the paper tubes. And what I did is I assembled the first module, and then as you realize, it's very easy. So the people get it there and start building themselves. And then every person got involved. Now, the people you see here is a mixture of people that was staying there. I mean, people that was living in the evacuation center, and also people that work in the original sports center, people that works there in the facility. Again, they got it very quickly and they start organizing it. This is part of, let's say, the Turkish approach to solve problems. They quickly devised this system to put it there, so it was easy to move the fabric and cut it. And in the Japanese picture, they just stay on the floor and they cut everything very organized. But Turkish people didn't want to, bend, so they did these things. The kids were all the time helping. They were taking the tubes. Here you can see them, they are moving the mattresses because we were building, so we have to move the mattresses and then bring them back. Here there is this kid helping me with the curtains, to put the curtains. So yeah, it's very, in a way, it's let's say a sad situation, but you have this kind of temporary happiness when you see the people there and they are extremely happy. These kids put that green towel there, and then they make the entrance to their place. So they were extremely proud of that, and they want me to take the picture of them. And here is something I want to show you because it was the first time I realized about that. Originally, they asked me for 50 units. So these are more or less 50 units. Originally, this part was supposed to be here. But the people who were staying here, they really opposed to put it here. They didn't want it. And when I finally could understand the problem is they didn't want to be close to the wall. They were scared of the wall. They were coming from Antakya, and they told me that their house collapsed. So they didn't feel safe there next to the wall. They wanted to be as far as they could. That's why they were staying there. So then we decided to put these units here, far from the walls. As a structural engineer, I can say this building was completely safe, but try to explain that to someone that's been in an earthquake like this one, seeing everything collapsing, you're never gonna convince them. These kids were all the time bothering me, coming to me, and every time I was taking the picture, they were posing there. So then I gave them the camera, and then they picked this picture of themselves, and then they gave me the camera back. The people from Japan, when we share the pictures, they were a little bit concerned. For example, here you can see the beam is not really extended. It's right next to the column. So they sent me an email like, can you check this? At least is 5 centimeters overlap. And of course, I understand their concern, but they don't know Turkish people. Turkish people very quickly realizes that the distance between the columns depends on the beam. So if you move it further, you have more space. So they start doing that, even though you can tell them, look, the Japanese architects are saying they should be 5, and they didn't care about that. They just move on. On the next day, we put everything on a truck, and I traveled to Antakya in the same truck. I was there with the driver because we had a contact in Hatay about some places that needed the system. So we moved everything to Antakya. And the first work we did is in this IBB in Antakya is Istanbul, something with the municipality. That is the IBB Coordination Center. This was not for, let's say, people that directly lost their houses, but it was for the people who are coming from Istanbul to help in the area. So that was the situation in this huge shed. At the beginning, more or less the same story. We brought the papers, the paper tubes. After I made the first one and they realized how simple it was, they start building it themselves. This one was a little bit more messy, the place, a little bit more difficult. But as you can see, there were a lot of people working. We started to put some of the fabric the first day, and the second day, because these were around 200 units, so it was a lot of work. In the second day, we continue adding more units. Then again, the process of moving the beds and mattresses and bring them back, and cutting the fabric. That was always the process. And as I said, people take the fabric and then start cutting them, but they didn't like that. They didn't like that. So someone when we were doing that, they contact the military people, and then they came, the soldiers came, and yeah, they are soldiers, so they are very much organized. They put the thing like that, they start folding it, then they start cutting it, like very, very organized. They are, by the way, they are wearing masks because they are forced to do that. And then they finish. They cut all the fabric in 1 hour. That was the only time that we really were very, very, very quick. And the last day, some of the voluntary people was putting the curtains, and that's how we finished around 200 units. I'm not showing all the implementations. I'm showing the more significant ones. This one is in Reyhanli. This is the last one I'm going to show. This is really, really close to the border with Syria. So in Antakya, I realized that the people talk in a mixture of Turkish and in Arabic, but here most of the people was talking in Arabic. And you can see, well, everything is in the 2 languages. So by the way, this machine here help us to unload the pallets, because we didn't have a forklift. So someone called this machine and then put the pallet there. They use some equipment of the hospital to transport the tubes inside. And then we started to work. Well, she is Ece. She is an architect and psychologist. She is from Skanderun, and she also came to help me that weekend. So in this hospital, we were only 2 people building the 50 units. And when we went there, we knew, they told us before it was raining, so there was water on the floor because the isolation of the entire building was not good enough. So then I remember something we did with Jersey, which is covering the paper tubes with this stretch kind of plastic thing. So that is what she's doing there. We were putting that on the base of the column, so to try to isolate them from the water. So yeah, during the first day, we built some units, and then we start putting the curtains that we had already ready. So yeah, it looks pretty much like a hospital because of the the beds and everything. And the next day we went again there and complete this job. Around 50 units were installed in this hospital. Some things towards the end I want to mention. This is the day 38. I was staying in the Expo. It's a place in Antakya. This is the place I was staying. This is 11:30 in the morning, and we need to carry this. Actually, we need to unload these paper tubes from the truck and load another paper tubes, and we are going to a hospital in Samanda. And the driver is there, and he said he will be there at 9, but he came like 10. And the forklift is not here, but the forklift is there. So we are ready. Everyone is ready, but the driver of the forklift is not there. So we are waiting. And that is what happened all the time. We were always waiting someone because, as I said, everything here is a voluntary work. I'm going to come back about this track in a minute. Remember when I said, I'm going to show this picture again. This was the third day. This is 9 of February. And they are saying, look, these are the places that are ready to receive people. The first one. This is the day 40. This is the place. Well, you cannot read it there, but trust me, it's the same place. I went there, and this is how it looks. So what I'm trying to say with this is that we dealt with two things: a lot of disinformation and a lot of misinformation in this story. The only way we could really know what's going on is by going there. People, even though they could clear up this place, people is not going to stay there. They are not staying there because these tubes are there. It's because people didn't want to be in any place indoors. They were scared, absolutely scared. And I can understand it. I'm not going to show only one picture of Antakya, how it looks, because the purpose of this presentation is not to show the disaster. I think there are so many reconnaissance studies going on by engineers, so you can see the pictures, and probably you have seen the videos already. So I'm not going to show that, but I can understand why people do not want to do that. And the other thing I'm showing you this picture is to insist on something I have been insisting for years. Look at the structure. This is what the structural engineer does. There is the need of having a space without columns, so they put a sort of truss system. They supported in the lateral elements. There you see the columns there. None of those things are damaged. This is a sports center that resisted a 7.8 earthquake without damage, no problem. But these are the ventilation pipes. They fall over here. Luckily, there was no one there, so no problem. But what if there is something going on? These things, obviously, they are really heavy, so they can kill people. And this, at the end, is responsibility of the architects, not of the engineers. So when sometimes architects said, why architects need to know about seismic design principle? Well, because of this, because we share a large part of the responsibility of the seismic, how the building is going to behave during an earthquake. By that time, and probably much before, they were using these big places for distributing aids, water or food. They were not using them to host people. So here you see the stadium. There is a queue there. They are providing something I couldn't see. And here in Antakya, this was very common, people waiting for receiving foods or water. This is what I saw many times in Antakya. You see the buildings there partially collapsed, some of them completely collapsed, people just living there. They don't want to go anywhere, the ones who want to stay, but they live there. They don't want to into any center, evacuation center. And then this is the houses they started to build as temporary for the people. So in order to finalize the presentation, I would like to share some reflections I have made after all this process. This is the place I stay, and this is my tent in Antakya in the expo. Now, before you feel sad for me, I have to tell you that in Mersin, the people put me in a 5-star hotel for 2 days. So I was really, really happy there. Then I went to Antakya, yeah, and I had to stay there. So don't feel sad. Also, I was the only one sleeping on my own. I mean, alone, because all the other people is sleeping in these tents. They are all together. So I have my own private space. And I sleep there, except for a couple of days, for around more than 2 weeks. I stay with these people. They are from a voluntary organization called Initiative, which is an open kitchen. They provide food for free, and they travel. They told me that they were in the second day, I mean, the day after the earthquake, they were there in Antakya helping people. So I was living with these people basically. So I ate very well. You can see here how they are working. And then at night, after because there is no, I mean, we couldn't work at night. I mean, many places we went, there was no electricity, so we were working basically during the daylight, and then at night we were doing nothing. So I was staying with them, and this is what we do. We ate and we have teas, and then they were sharing stories. We were talking with them. You see different ages, different backgrounds. I met all these people. And they also helped me here. You see, they are trying to cut the fabric in one of the days we were working there. They were also helping me on that. At a certain point, I have to return to my academic duties. So here you see, well, you cannot see, but Aheng is there. And then this is a presentation of some student. And yeah, the people from Initiative, when they saw me there, they brought me tea and a snack. So they were always feeding me while I was doing this type of things. His name is Zeki. He was one of the kids there helping, and he had this drawing. He showed me this drawing. Now, I cannot tell you this completely full story behind the drawing because I couldn't understand. I mean, you have to understand that we were communicating a basic English, basic Turkish. So what I do know is that this drawing was made by a kid that was in one of the buildings that collapsed. The kid was alive, but I didn't understand the story with the drawing. I don't know if the kid made the drawing while he was trapped or he made it before, and then when they rescue, he brought the drawing in. And I don't know also why he had that drawing, but he was telling me the story and he was showing me the drawing. And then he suggested I took a picture, so I took that picture. His name was these other kids, his name was Mustafa. I think I wrote the names here. Yes, Mustafa. And he didn't speak English, but every time he saw me, he said, teacher, he said, Eat, because he wanted to feed me all the time. A very, very nice kid. Here he was supervising the filling of the water tank. There was a cistern truck there, and then we were filling the water. His name, I also forgot it, I wrote it here. His name is Halil. And he was working in the expo. Here you see, these are containers of gas. Because of course there were so many trucks and so many cars going voluntary. So he was actually the pump guy, just pumping the gas on the cars. And one day, because we were working together close to each other for a long time, one day we start talking, and then I asked him about his family. Why he was there. And he's from Adana, and he lost his father in the earthquake. He told me that the house of his parents collapsed and he lost his father. And at that point, I couldn't understand much. I mean, he lost his father and he's helping there. He's doing, and everyone was like that. I mean, the people was helping, even though they were in this suffering or this tragedy. So my reflection comes to this. Among many buildings, this is a picture I took there in Antakya, among many buildings that collapse and many things that happen, I can recognize things that I've seen and we've been talking for years now. This, of course, the construction is bad, but the reason why this building collapses is because of a mechanism called soft story. And we have talk about this, and it still is happening. And still, we have buildings collapsing because of the soft story. So then I start questioning, what are we doing? I mean, I want to go back a little bit to my own experience. I came to Turkey, to Izmir in 2014, invited by this university, by this faculty, to introduce seismic design principles in architectural design. That was the reason why I came. And with the help of some people, and I have to say, with the opposition of a lot more, we try to introduce these principles in the studios, and I would say with a degree of success at the end after 3 years. But then the earthquake in Izmir came in 2020, and I felt that it's not just enough to have this knowledge among engineers and to transfer this knowledge to architects. This is not yet enough. We need to do something more. So I got involved in the reconnaissance studies here in Bayrakli and Izmir. But again, we felt that we needed to do something different. So what we came up is to provide knowledge to regular citizens, not to start thinking how we provide seismic knowledge, not to architects, not only to architects, not only to engineers, but regular people that doesn't have the background about how to build, how to make a building properly. So we create this channel, that of course, part of a BAP. Actually, Egenor created this channel, Earthquake in Buildings. And I want to mention something very interesting that happened. You can see here we proudly have 776 subscribers. This screenshot is from last night. Before the earthquake in the last earthquake on 6th of February, we have around 150 subscribers, plus minus 150. We were really proud of our tiny number, but very dedicated and loyal subscribers. But look at the number now, increase it skyrocketed. And I remember this clearly. Well, you cannot see very well, but trust me, that is 4,200 views, 4,000. And you know which video is this one? Soft story and short column. That is the video that has more views. And again, before the earthquake, we were rough, not even 1,000, 800, 600 views. Now, of course, we're very proud of that, but at the same time, that tells us that people are looking for answers. They are trying to understand. They are commenting. They are asking questions there in the videos. So it's not enough. That's what I'm trying to say. And I said to you, I'm going to go back to the track, because here is something I realized. I started to think, and I think I kind of realized with this driver. Well, you cannot see, unfortunately, the picture, but he's the driver. I also wrote his name. He is Vehbi. I think I pronounced it correctly. It's a very complicated name. And then right next to him is his wife and his daughter. He came with his wife and his daughter. The day before, we were going to the hospital. We were transporting something, and we were talking. And I made the mistake to say that I didn't have lunch. because I didn't. We were working the whole day, so I skipped the lunch and then we're working. But I said the mistake because I think it's a mistake to say to a Turkish people you didn't have lunch, and someone from Antakya, because he said, okay, so he took me to his house to feed me. Told me, and this is his drawing. He started explaining me how he put the reinforcement in the columns and the beams. And I'm talking about someone that doesn't have engineer knowledge. He didn't study to be an engineer. He didn't study to be an architect. This is things basically everyone should know, architects and engineers. Engineers should know how to calculate it. Architects should know why it's like that. And just to complete I was very surprised, happily surprised, because this is, well, I took it from internet. This is how a moment frame behave. You can see the deformation under lateral loads. Earthquake produces lateral loads on a frame. So you see the maximum deformations are in these areas. These areas are more or less remain straight, but these corners have a lot of deformation, which means is the areas where we need to put more reinforcement. So he was explaining me what he did. And I was telling him that is the right thing to do. That is why your house didn't collapse. So, and I'm going to finish here. What I think we need to do, and I think that I don't know how, but what we need to do is to provide knowledge about how to build correctly for earthquake resistant to everyone. Everyone, not only architects, not only engineers, but the builders, mostly the builders, because most of the building stock is built by non-professionals in Turkey. That is a reality. You can try to change it, you can neglect it, you can avoid it, you can deny it, but that is the truth. So instead of keep, talking between engineers and between architects about these issues, we all know the problem. What we need to do is transfer this knowledge to regular people who, some of them are going to make their houses, so they are going to make it safe. And that's it. Thank you very much.